Oh hey, don't mind me. I'm just watching my old cel shading videos at 1 AM on Saturday. I just finished painting the Juggernaut, and now I'm in the process of editing this video. How did I do it? Okay, I know how I did it, but I was so confident. I cel shaded the entire X-Men 97 wave for 3 months straight. As you know, I failed Silver Samurai recently, so I thought the Juggernaut would be much easier to paint. And boy was I wrong. Anyway, editing me out. Back to the video. Last week, I added Galactus to my Fantastic Four First Steps display, and I feel like it's one of the coolest displays on my channel. There are technically 9 characters in the display, and every single one of them has a role against Galactus. Okay, maybe except for the Human Torch. But hey, I wanted to include every figure in the wave, and it is the only way to include both Johnnies. Check out that video if you haven't already. Like I said earlier, today I'm gonna work on the Gamerverse Juggernaut. This figure is heavy. Holding him with one hand is tiring, but it totally makes sense why this guy is so heavy, cause he is huge. This is my first ever Juggernaut figure, so I can't really compare, but he looks exactly like how I imagined him to be.
Let's deconstruct this figure.
I have to say, the promotional photos do not do Juggernaut justice. Look how he towers over Wolverine. The X-Men 97 Wolverine looks tiny next to him. The movie Carnage figure is one of the largest Marvel Legends I own, and even he looks somewhat small next to Juggernaut. I may or may not be correct, but I believe this is a brand new mold. I am unsure if there are any reused parts, but that doesn't really matter here because he looks great. The proportions are exaggerated just enough where he still looks like a monster, but not in an unbelievable way. They totally captured how he looks from the game. That said, the colors aren't that accurate to the game. They are to the other Juggernaut designs, but in the video game, he's a bit brighter and has more of a yellowish orange hue. So that's something that I'm gonna have to adjust. And speaking of colors, the shading they added to the muscles are very well done. They are subtle but effective. I also love the open hands. Surprisingly, the fingernails are painted. I was not expecting that. The other accessory, the blast effect, is also very well designed. It snaps on nicely and it has that video game look to it. Overall, this figure is pretty good. There's nothing really wrong with him visually. He is top heavy though, making him difficult to pose. And if I weren't going for game accurate colors, I would have left him unpainted. But I am, so...
Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY adventure as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it?
I'm gonna start with the arms. The bands on his arms are somewhat loose, but I'm gonna leave them there so that I'm not pushing them up and down the arms and messing up the paint later on. Looking at the sprites, his arms are brighter and have more of a yellow undertone, so I'm gonna paint over them with a warm white. I didn't paint the arms on Wolverine, because I didn't want to risk having paint rub or messing up the arm hair. But Juggernaut has these gigantic arms. Leaving them unpainted will feel more jarring. Okay, you know what? I don't know why I picked this color, because clearly it's way too light. But hindsight is 2020, and it is 2025 already. It is too late to go back. So let me add a few more coats and fast forward a bit. Here's another problem. The arms are so big that they're rubbing against the other parts, and the paint is getting severely damaged. I need to do something before I continue on. So, I'm gonna try something I've never done before. Shaving down the parts. I know that this is a step other customizers do before they paint, but because I only have limited time per week, and I'm lazy, I don't take apart my figures and shave down the joints. It has worked out for me for the most part since the very beginning. But the paint rub here is so bad there's no other option. The good thing is, I know exactly which areas to shave down. I don't know what grit I'm using, but I'm using the bit that has a fine sandpaper on it, and I'm shaving maybe 1 to 2 millimeters of the surface. Actually, I don't know how much I'm shaving off. I just keep shaving and moving the arms back and forth until there's no more contact between parts. And with that done, let's patch the arms. And before I work on the body, let me quickly clean up the edges. I want to avoid any unnecessary paint buildup. One small little bump can ruin the 2D look of the figure, so I'm going to scratch them off with a wet stiff brush. Onto his suit. So, looking at the sprites, the main color appears to be this orangish brown. So let's see if I can match it. Okay, that looks pretty close. Let me add this color to the entire suit, including the helmet. Alright, the lower torso and boots are next. They should be bright red. I have a Juggernaut question. I found this sprite here. But, excuse me, what is happening here? Why are his abs there? That doesn't look right. Look at this other sprite. What is happening? Oh, the arms and the face don't match. Let me brighten the face too. I can hear you yelling through the screen, but unfortunately, I cannot hear you. And with the base colors done, it is time to add the shading colors. Starting with the arms. It's like this orangish tan color. Oh, nope, that does not look right. Let me soften up the color a bit. You would think I realize the colors aren't right here, but I might be colorblind or too optimistic. Like somehow the colors will all make sense in the end, after I add all the shading and highlights. Okay, fine. I'll accept reality. The skin tone is not working. The base color is way too pale. It should be more of a warm beige. So let me try adding a thin coat of it over the arm to see how that looks. Oh, that looks much better. The more subdued shading also looks good too. Okay, let me do the same to the other arm. There. Now let me remix the shading color so that I can go over them again and get an even flat finish. Here's what the arm looks like with the shading color. No, don't you dare comment about it. I am not ready to hear the criticism yet. Maybe the shading will look right after both arms are painted. See, it doesn't look that bad, right? Right? I'm gonna move on to the shading on the suit. I want a darker reddish brown as a shading color, and I'm gonna outline the muscles with it. I'm also gonna use this to emphasize the shadows on his helmet as well. And the armbands. There are these vertical stripes going down them, so let me add a couple of them here and there. This part of the process feels the most familiar to me. It's something I've done numerous times now, so I'm not too worried about this part of the process. It's mostly just adding the shading to areas where I see shadows, and keeping those shapes very simple. The shading looks pretty good so far, but you may notice that I avoided his left leg. That's because I want the shading on that side to be lighter, like how it is in the sprites. So I'm going to use a lighter brown this time. I'm also going to line the hands with this brown as well, but I have to do this off camera, so I'll be right back. Look at that! It's slowly coming together. These hands were a pain to line, but they sure look great. But the overall figure still doesn't look right. It's still too dull. It's lacking that bright orange-brown color on his helmet and the shoulder area. According to the sprites, this brighter orange-brown is only at the top half of his helmet. I don't know about this. This feels wrong, but I want to know how it looks. Okay, it looks a bit odd, but I can kinda see it. Let me continue and add this color to the back, armbands, and gauntlets. Next, the highlight color. It is this pale salmon pink that appears on the very top of his head. Let's add it right here. And there's a bit of this on the back of his shoulders as well. Okay, I'm getting closer. I can feel it. I just need to add a bit more dimension to the colors. It is still a bit too flat and uninteresting. I want the suit to look darker at the bottom. So first, there should be a bit more shading on the side of his left leg. Then, I'm going to darken the right side of his lower body even more. Looking at the sprite, there are so many variations of that orange-brown on the suit. I think that's why my Juggernaut was looking odd. Okay, I worked on the figure even more off camera. I added the black lines on the torso, a bit of black shading on this right leg, and a bit more details on the armbands. All there's left are his boots. I'm going to use a darker red as a shading color. And then I'm going to mix an even darker version of it as a darker shading color. Look at that. The shading on the boots look great. It's just missing a bit of the highlights. It is this pale pink color that only appears on the leg closer to the camera. And since Juggernaut is a villain, I'm going to have him face our left, so the highlight should only be on his left foot. Okay, I am done. Time to seal everything and do the comparison. Here's the Juggernaut all finished. Looking at the side by side, I'll say the figure looks perfectly fine unpainted. If you ask me which one looks more like the Juggernaut, I'll say the before too. But I feel like I did an okay job capturing his look from the game. The colors on mine isn't as vibrant, but they aren't as bad as I thought. It is not my best cel-shaded figure, but at least he looks 2D. There are bits here and there that I really like the open hands and the legs. What do you think? Is this a fail? What did I do wrong on the helmet? Why doesn't it look right to me? I feel like everything else looks fine. It's the helmet that's throwing everything off, but I just can't figure out why. I tried recreating some of the poses from the game, but unfortunately I'm unable to. First of all, I don't want any more paint rub. I am not remixing these colors again. And the other issue is that he really doesn't want to stay upright. He has fallen a few times and every time he fell, a bit of paint gets damaged due to his weight. So please forgive me for these terrible poses. That said, the shaving I did earlier did help. There's still a bit of paint rub here and there, but as you can see here, I can bend both elbows without damaging the paint. Oh, I was nervous, but the blast effect looks great on the cel-shaded figure. Yes, there is a bit of paint rub on the hand, but because of the brass knuckles, that part actually gets covered up. So that's neat. Here's the Juggernaut with my other X-Men villains. The heroes are all in the danger room, so I can maybe do a separate display with these guys. But right now, the plan is to display him with the other Gamerverse characters. Just look at these two. They are meant to be displayed together. Sorry, I'm gonna have to end today's video here and skip the photos. It is getting late. Maybe I'll add the photos to next week's video. So give this video a like, a hype, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. And as always, stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make it, so can you.